Smile for the camera.
There you go, smile for camera, because we are live and direct from our living rooms. Yes, Zec's given up with the backdrop. We've both decided to go with luxury and comfort. So welcome to our living rooms, viewers.
I'm in the spare bedroom.
This is DHTV, and with that, we should say, press that magic button, Zec. DHTV. Yes, and as it said, we don't have a script or a guest, predominantly because on Friday at about 5 or 6 o'clock, I suddenly went, oh, shit, it's DHTV this week.
5 o'clock it was, because I was about to go on a Zoom service, and you're like, we're live. And I'm like, are we?
I shouted to you on WhatsApp, oh dear. And you went, I thought it was next week.
We're organised.
Now, you see, this is why Disability Horizons that might be watching, hello, we probably need a production team at some point,
Makeup.
Because we're just not, life's getting in the way, brains, organisation. It's in my diary, but it only tells me that it's going to happen an hour before it happens. So if I don't look...
That's a good idea. I should set a reminder a week before.
What I should do is actually set a reminder the week before to get a guest. So get guest, do it. Get guest, do it. Anyway, so that means, lovely viewer, that you don't have a guest tonight.
Lovely viewer.
Instead, what you have is Zec and me talking a lot for 40 odd minutes. So what, is there anything you want to talk about, Zec, before I start waffling on?
I mean, it's been a real mixed week. We were just chatting. I mean, we started off with the budget, which I didn't expect them to give us a little bit of a nod. It's kind of wow, they're saying we should get a rise with inflation, but just wait till next year. You struggle through the winter. Don't worry. It's coming. If you don't die through this winter through no food.
Also, though, the rate of inflation in September. Not the rate of inflation now, the rate of inflation in September. So you're getting a rise in relation to the rate of
It's there somewhere, mate. Come on, you've got it there.
That's my political insight. The rate of inflation was low in September, or lower than in September. Obviously now it's, 11 point something.
I don't look.
Do you know what? I ordered some food online because now I can't go shopping. I've got into online shopping and how awful it is. And I ordered the food online, and I ordered the basics, and it was almost double what I was paying when I first found myself locked in. So that's since August.
Yeah. Last Sunday, I said to Donna, go on, I'm going to Asda's. I went, go on, I'll come. Everybody was in there. I hated it. It was so peoply. But she said, grab some butter. And I went,
Don't grab her pack. Her pack is actually worth its weight in gold now.
We buy like proper pack of paper, like butter and paper in a butter dish, like the old 70s. We're cold like the 70s. We're having butter like the 70s. But the price of it.
It's because you don't need to refrigerate it now, do you? Because your house is so cold.
And then, and then the tea bags. I like Yorkshire tea. I went to grab it and I went, oh no, I'll have something cheaper. And she said, no, you'll be moaning about the tea.
Yeah,
I'll look for somewhere else. £6 for this box.
It's the thing is, I think what it is that we've got to that point now where what you got to do is get the cheap stuff if it doesn't matter, and then only get the posh stuff if it does.
Yeah.
So
stuff like tea's got to be good. You've got to have a good.
Yeah, that's it. But I'm just amazed by it all. Like I said, I mean, the last shop I did was 121 quid, and I basically ordered 68 quid worth of stuff in August. Do you know what I mean? And that's just like, wow, that's shocking. And poor old we're looking at the comments that are coming in.
Every week.
For some reason, every week has a problem with our sound. To be honest, Avril, many people would say it would be a better show without sound. So yeah, the budget.
We should do that 1 week. We just start.
That's it. The budget, to be honest, I paid it absolutely no attention at all.
No, I didn't.
And that's because I have decided that we are totally screwed until we get.
I just waited till Femi came up and told us what it was going to be.
I'm just like, politics has just got to me now. So I'm just like, well, it doesn't matter what anyone says until we get someone new in. Whatever they do, it can't be worse than this.
But this
Do
is
you know what I
happening
mean?
across the world. The right wing are getting in across the world. Italy, very right wing. Israel, very right wing. And they're just getting in everywhere, and they're becoming very extreme, these governments.
Diane, just before we went live, Diane was sitting there. She's gone in the other room to lead me to it. Not doing rabbit ears behind me. And her mate sent her a link to the reform. Yeah, sent her a link to the Reform Party to join it.
I've heard of the Reform Party.
They're the fascists, you know. And scarily enough, on Friday, yes, I was bored, so I was sitting there watching telly, and there was a whole 3-hour sort of like documentary series on the rise of Hitler. And I'm not joking; it was scary because it was just like what we're going through now.
But it's very much, you know, what we're seeing in America and across Europe and Britain is very much 30s Germany. Yeah. You know, in America, the
whole exactly the same thing. All across the world, there was this like split between ultra left and ultra right. And of course, anyone with any money who controls the world doesn't want ultra left to get in for obvious being shot, head, you know, chopped off, kind of taking all your money kind of reasons. So they support the right wing, and it just moves gradually towards this kind of
But it's okay. Listen, all those backhanders that the Tory party get in have been put to good use, because I think they're supporting. I don't watch it. I hate it. But I've heard that Hancock, for balance, I should say, the Labour Party, is still in the jungle, and they're saying, could he win it? And I'm like, that's a bit like...
The worst thing is we now live in a media landscape where all the people on telly basically have all won something reality. There's no actual... They don't go out and find talent anymore. They just stick people in various... sort of find... let's get a load of people and see who wins. And then they become a celebrity. So it might mean that Michael Portillo gets oofed out, and we have old Matt Hancock travelling around on his favourite.
Yeah, the only problem is if Matt Hancock wins the jungle, he's going to have to do the Iceland adverts.
Well, I don't. To be honest, I'm very glad I don't watch any of that.
I
was just thinking, because you watch Strictly, never watched.
I watch Strictly. I love Strictly.
I don't watch. I haven't watched. The nearest to reality TV I watch is American Pickers.
Oh, I used to watch it. Avril's just said here, she's saying, and Elon Musk with Twitter saying he's going to let back all those that had their accounts banned.
We were discussing this, were we not? Have anyone else noticed that all of a sudden in their news feed, you've got all the adverts, millions of more adverts, but also like suggested posts. Oh, do you fancy following?
Blah blah follows,
and they're all right wing. Even though I basically created a very lovely echo chamber in my Twitter feed, full of lovely, lovely, lovely lefties, and a few taxi drivers that kind of skirt on being a bit right wing, but I support the cab drivers for something else. And now all of a sudden, everyone said, "Oh, do you want to follow this Dr. David Ball?" Oh yes, of course I want to follow.
Mark says here. Filters. Now, I blocked Elon Musk, but I'm still seeing his posts. It doesn't. Although I have to say, it never worked. I've had 3 reported posts this week. Anti-Semitism. No, they've shut their accounts down.
Oh, wow!
I've never had that before. I have not had that.
No, I've never managed to get anyone. I mean, even people that have been quite horrible.
You really should stop
it's not against
sorry.
Rules.
You
to
can
say
block
that
them.
People are a drain on society. That's fine.
And I got bloody blocked for saying that I wish my MP got bloody sores on his nipples doing the half marathon. Come on.
Dear. Did you accompany it with a picture of Vaseline? That's what you should have done.
No, I just said. Someone said, we wish James Duddridge MP good luck on the Southend Half Marathon. I said, I don't know. I hope he gets sore nipples and blisters on his feet. And I got blocked for threatening an MP.
Now you see, now you've got a picture in my head, because now what I can see is you wheeling after him at high speed, giving him nipples and throwing somebody fire up. Nuggies. Anyway, yes. So, but I have noticed that. I've noticed that it's got a little bit more right wing. I think, sadly, I think the problem is society is getting a little bit more right wing, and I think
But
it's.
why? I would have thought with everything that's happening, we'd have seen a swing the other way because people are
Ah,
like, that's so bloody awful.
but the thing is, have you heard the term leftist? The leftists. Well, I'm like, but you don't say the rightists, do you? So people were left wing and right wing. The left, and then there was the far left and the extreme left, and then there was the right and then the extreme far right, and they all marched up and down with banners and were shaven-headed people that looked a bit red. There was a but now
You never hear of people in the middle.
anyone who is remotely left is now tarred with the same brush. So of course politics moves to the right because everyone on telly now can kind of go. I mean, I posted on Twitter. I can't watch Jeremy Vine anymore. I used to love Matthew White's show, and obviously I was on it a few times.
But, I used to watch the right stuff.
It was a kind of discussion where people would discuss stuff, and when it got silly, Matthew would interject and say, "Well, that's just being silly." Whereas now they have a kind of ranty right-wing mouthpiece and then a ranty left-wing mouthpiece, and they both just go at each other, and it's just ridiculous. It's unwatchable.
And in between that, he goes through London on a bike with a camera, chasing down cars to have a go at them, like pulling in front of them, going, "Oh!" and then having arguments with them.
You know what? It's funny because that brings me to what I was going to talk about today, which is, like I said, on Thursday or Friday, I was interviewed on Dublin City Radio, Dublin City FM, by my good friend Gary Kearney, who has his own show, Viva Vox, a disability-related chat show every week.
On radio.
And he's a great guy. It's a great thing. He does this thing every year where he goes around trying to show people with power what's wrong with that access. He has another day, a purple day, where all the city lights up purple to kind of kind of say that it's trying to be more accessible. So there's but one of the things he's really finding, and this is something we all find, folks, isn't it, is the pushback from the eco lot. And so we went on to talk about what is now starting to be called eco-ableism. In that, we're seeing a move to getting rid of cars, but what's being replaced with is not very good if you're disabled. And I went on to explain the difference, because there is a difference between ableism and disableism. And I think that this is what's strange, because ableism, I've always, I understood was you go out. I'll tell you what, we went out for that pizza together when I came down to Southend. Right,
we went chicken nipples.
All right, yeah. But getting in was a bit tricky. That little step. Right now, they didn't have a ramp. Maybe
no, they did. You and I bumped it, and then he came chasing up first. Going, I hadn't done a ramp. I had a ramp. Why are you coming? I got on a ramp.
But like you go somewhere and people don't think, or they've done a bit but they haven't got it right. That is sort of ableism. The idea, I didn't think, and it's kind of originally you could say that the eco push was ignorant of what disabled people needed. So it kind of it made mistakes. But now we're really actively trying to tell everybody they're doing it wrong. And a great example of that is the bus bypass, which is kind of where there's a bike lane that goes between where the bus stops and where the people wait. And there's like a zebra crossing and a line that says stop here, as if cyclists ever stop at anything. So,
and even not then, I mean, the bike lane along Southend Seafront, it's the curb down, and it used to be the curb the road you could get across, but now it's the curb down, the bike lane, then it's about that wide with all stones in it to make it bumpy so people can't get on. So you can't cut across, you've got to go up half a mile that way.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what I mean. Now, the thing is, right, is that you could have gone, oh, well, I didn't think. Oh no, yeah, you're right. We didn't know, and it's funny because Andrew said, there is actually a load of rules about what they should have been doing, and you're right, Andrew. There are, and it's basically councils jumping very quickly to do something because they've been given some money to do something quick, and they're not following the rules.
There's an example of quick. Can you see that? You saw that, didn't you? That I put online.
Yeah, exactly. Now that I would say is not blatant discrimination. That is just someone being ignorant to the
We'll put a
rules
ramp
and to
in.
what's required. Right. But then if you point that out and they go tough, that's discrimination. And I think that's the point. We've gone from a lot of what we see in society, or at least we used to, you could say, well, do you know what? I didn't know that. I'm really sorry. Bit late now. When we do it up next time, we'll make it better. That kind of thing. How can we bodge it for now? That's ableism. The idea that, well, we built it for everybody and we just didn't think of you. But then it's, well, I don't care what you need because we're doing it this way, the easy way, the way that works for the majority. That's disableism. And I think it's important because I think lots of other minority groups haven't got a word. We've got two words, right? So, like, the number of people that get accused of being racist when what they are is just ill-informed means that people get, I'm not racist. It's like, well, you're acting in a racist manner, but I'm not meaning it. Do you know what I mean? And I think there's a lot of that about, I mean, I grew up in a family where basically they were every ist on the planet, but I don't think my mum especially was willfully so. I just don't think she knew any better.
The attitudes
That's
of the day.
the point. Yes. Yeah, so then you get someone, but then if you're marching up and down the street with a shaved head going, you know, foreigners out, that's racist. And I think we're lucky we've got these two words. And it means that we can highlight that something has flipped from being ableist, I just didn't think I was building it for the majority, sorry, to disableist. I don't care what you need. You're going to get what we give you. And it's tough if it makes your life harder.
Yeah.
And that, the reason why is because the green thing, changing society to be better, could be our chance to build a better society. We could use this to build a really lovely, inclusive, accessible society. And we're missing out on it.
But you've got, like, I saw someone at some eco bonnet going on, look at all these cars. They're in a traffic jam and there's only one person in each car. That's awful. It's like, what do you want me to do? Well, I need to go to the shop. I'm disabled. I need it. I'm just going to stop at the bus stop, pick every bugger up.
Well, this is it, isn't it? I mean, did you see that post that I put up? I think actually they took it down after the amount of hatred they got. But there was this thing that it's like a bike with a box on the front and a ramp, and you wheel backwards onto, like, reverse onto it, and then you sit with the person on the bike behind you wheeling you along.
Yes, you're kind of on a big shopping tray.
Yeah, you're basically a giant bumper on the front of a bike.
Yeah.
Right, and they were going, oh, well, there you go. All these people say, you know, disabled people have to drive. Well, what's this then? They could use this. And it was like, no, because if you go, if I go to the shop, I can drive myself. That I'd need someone to push me, to ride it for me, because I can't do it myself. And it doesn't consider what happens in the rain. It doesn't consider what happens if I want to go distant. You know, or what, there was lots of, so it was just, no, that'll do. What are you moaning about? And that, you see, is again why I think it's becoming disableist, because I think that people are now trying to, like, well, what are you talking about? You're moaning about nothing. See? And it's like, look, that's great for some people.
That happens with everything. You know, that happens with, you know, ableism, that happens with racism, that happens with most of the isms where people go, oh, you know, that is what you've said. That's really out of order. That's something they go, oh, you're making a fuss about nothing. And it's, they kind of downplay it.
I disagree. Don't hear many disabled people coming up with solutions either. Well, I know I do because I've made a living out of it.
That depends who you follow. This is the problem with Twitter. You know, I mean, if you're following a lot of activists, a lot of people coming up with ideas, then you see a lot of people coming up with ideas. If you don't, you don't.
Also, though, right? I tell you, this is one of the things that the eco lot do, which is really unfair. They go, all right, then, what should we do? And it's like, oh, I see. So if I tell you that what you're doing is discriminatory, if I can't think of a better solution, then you can just do what you like. No, the point is that what you should be doing is talking to all of the groups within the community. Because what might work for me might not work for someone that's blind.
It's
and the other way around. A great example is tactile paving. You're a wheelchair user, I'm a wheelchair user. We wheel over that, it hurts.
Yeah.
Right? But it's essential for visually impaired people because it marks that don't go any further. There's a road here. right? This is where you cross, so it's safe. So it's.
But I think you said something quite a while ago on here, and you said if something is built to be accessible for disabled people, it's accessible for everyone.
Yeah, but but this is what I keep getting this a lot. Oh, then what's the solution? And I'm lucky; I do have other solutions, and I know what should be done, and I know where to go to find stuff. So I can. But when you do it once, and then 3 messages down, another one goes, right, then what's the solution? So you do the same tweet to them, and eventually you're like, do you know what? Bugger off. Go and if we have to fight to prove to you why you've done wrong, even though I can find it quite easily, what you're doing is you're using the fact I didn't know and I can't be bothered to care, which is again, I didn't know isn't discrimination. I can't be asked to find out is. Do you see what I mean? And I think that's the problem. I think that this is, we keep getting told, well, what should we do then? And it's like, I'll tell you what, pay me £1,000 a day and I'll come and tell you. But that's what I charge for my professional services. So therefore, if you want me to tell you why your scheme is rubbish, I'll come and be a professional. Because they don't take any notice of you if you're not being paid anyway.
Well, I have to say, I think I'm probably like a lot of disabled people. I know I speak up, I shout online and that, but sometimes I won't want to make a fuss unless I'm out and thing. So take, for instance, the synagogue I've gone in, there's 2 steps up onto the bimmer, for those of you that don't go to a synagogue or church. It's like up to the altar bit, up the sanctuary. So, and I knew eventually I would be called up there for an Aliyah Torah blessing. And I didn't say anything. The rest of the shop is brilliant. Accessible toilets, ramp at the door. Yeah. And I did. I got out my wheelchair on my bum, pulled my wheelchair up and got in. And I never wanted to make a fuss. But I was so surprised when they said to me, we're buying a ramp. We're getting a ramp in. Yeah. I'm the only person in the wheelchair, but they are getting a ramp in. And I've never had that before.
There you go. So you've gone from a situation that could have been described as ableist in that no one thought about it. And you were expected but then they did what you're meant to do, which is say, right, shit, got that wrong. Let's fix it. And that is how you treat when you realise
on it like that.
Done it wrong. We must fix it. And that's the point.
It was just once me doing that, and they've gone, no, we need to.
No, it can't be that. That's not fair. That's not right. Yeah. And that's the point. This is what I mean about everything. Like, someone said online, oh, it's 13 years since the Equality Act and we're still not seeing any difference. And I had to remind them, in 2025, it's 30 years since the Disability Discrimination Act, which basically said all the same stuff. It's not like the Equality Act came along and went, oh, no, we've got much stricter rules now. All it said was indirect discrimination is also illegal. So it said disableism. The DDA said disableism is illegal. And the Equality Act said, and so is ableism. It's illegal not to have thought about it.
And that's yet we've had a whole train line built that isn't 100% step-free access and level boarding.
I know. And I was part of the campaign. I'm actually was filmed outside campaigning about it, even though I was actually working for the company that built the bloody thing.
Can I just say also, people that are trying to make a difference and make the world more accessible for us can also be a pain in the bloody arse. Because my wife has gone to me, look, have you seen this picture of Mick Scarlett on the ice rink up in London? We can go ice skating together. And I'm like, oh, no, I don't. But you can. I'm like, bloody Mick Scarlett.
Well, you see, do you know what? It's funny, actually, that, right? Because I've always thought...
What was the name of the place? It's in the...
It's Somerset House. It's very lovely. It's now known as the most beautiful place to go skating. Someone contacted me and said, can you do it if you use crutches? And I was like, I have no idea. I'm a wheelchair user.
They put you on your belly and just shove you.
You know what I mean? It's like, you can't stand, but we thought we'd strap you on this thing. They do have little penguins that you can hold on to that keep you upright if you can walk a bit.
Yeah, the kids ones there.
Yeah, the kids one, but they extend. So
I mean, luckily we can't afford it. Otherwise, I would be up in London in December with all the crowds and the business where it's all peoply and horrible with her on ice skates, basically using me as an excuse so she doesn't fall over.
Right, and that's the thing. Anybody who wants to go skating that's not very good at it, get yourself a wheelchair user. Because basically we are like giant penguins. Like you get your little kid on a penguin, and you can wheel by them and go, "Ah, look at me with my graceful ice skating." And actually, you're using the wheelchair to hold yourself up.
Actually,
The
the
only
week
thing I will
before I
say-
had the week before my big knee surgery, we took the girls ice skating. And I said, I'm going to do it. And they're like, you can't, your knees, you really hurt. And I'm like, I don't care. Doesn't matter if I really screw myself up. I'm having knee surgery and I won't ever get to do this again. It was that and doggy style. There were the two things. I'm going to do this. I don't care because I'm never going to get to do it again. And I was right. And I made the most of it.
There you go. Always good idea.
Both slippery.
But don't try doggy style on the ice. That'd be anyway. We're going to that. You see now it's funny talking about changing and stuff. Mark again has said, but you can't think about every disability. The point is that's why a professional gets paid and a person
or every variation.
So there's two ways of thinking about how you do inclusion and inclusive design and inclusive practice and what's called co-production. One is get a load of disabled people in a room, ask them what they think, get the sense out of it, and then use that. But then they should also employ a specialist, right, who does things like considers impairments and people who are not like him. And a perfect example is I worked on the Imperial War Museum, refit of...
the trenches accessible.
Yeah, right. You can get on the tanks now and fly the planes. But no, so they dug out a whole floor and made this huge atrium, right? And we were saying, well, it's going to be problematic for if you're hearing impaired or if you're neurodivergent because of the noise might be difficult. So I'm not neurodivergent and I can hear fine. But I went, right, we need to find a solution for this. So we put in loads of sound muffling materials in the roof, in the ceiling, and it stopped the noise. So now it's better for everyone. And it's the one I always use when I'm trying to explain that actually inclusive design is something that benefits everyone, because it meant that it was a much nicer space to be in. So therefore, it was done to benefit a group of the disabled community, but actually it benefited everyone. But it wasn't done by anyone who had the impairment we're talking about. Do you see what I mean? So actually, it's not about
someone that connects on behalf of all these groups.
And the thing is, I mean, you can't think about everyone, because talking about, for example, the hearing impaired community or the neurodivergent community, they are a big old community.
Yeah.
And so you can't get it right for everybody. For someone that might be overloaded by a space, you'll have someone that enjoys the space because it's stimulating. So but the thing is to make sure that they're considered. And this is the point about, like, well, when we went to the restaurant, we jumped in because we could, and then the guy came out and went, I've got a ramp. So if you need,
I got a ramp.
So it meant that we could have gone in. So say you couldn't have jumped up the little stair, he had a ramp. And I think that's the thing, is that we didn't need the ramp, but someone else might.
Yeah.
So that's what it is, I think. Of course. But you see, what you're talking about, Mark, is co-production. Mark has just said, but I've been places where all disabled people were and they didn't agree. That's called co-production. So what they're meant to do is have someone that knows what they're doing. This rarely happens, that can get everyone to talk and then get the ideas and come up with something that works for the majority.
They probably should have two people with the same disability, 4 people, same disability, and they will all have different impairments.
But also they, like I said, there is this sort of, it works for one and doesn't work for another. And the tactile paving is a perfect example. But the problem with tactile paving at the minute is it's been designed specifically for the visually impaired community without going, hey, wheelchair users, what would you like? Because I've always said, because it's 6 by 6 square, the one that says, and if they made it 5 by 5, it wouldn't really affect the visually impaired community, but it would make it easier for wheelchair users to get between the bumps. So, and that's what I mean about, that's the future, I think. But the thing is, if you think about it, it's 30 years since DDA, right? There were no disabled experts back then. It really was a load of non-disabled people telling everyone what was right for us. And even today, it's mostly that. So we need more disabled people to do it. We need more people coming up, and the younger generations. You know, part of what I do is train up young people to get into this industry.
Oh, young people.
Young people. Well,
I said anyone under 50.
without being funny, I mean, like I said to you just before we went live, I found out this weekend that one of my really good mates just died. He was 57. He wasn't disabled. He just, you know, had an illness and died. And
Yeah,
it's
my best mate died quite a lot of years ago. It makes you feel very mortal. All of a sudden, you feel a bit like
you know, like, and I know lots of my generation of disabled people are dying. You know, and it's kind of so when we've got to start saying to the younger generation, here you go, have our knowledge, have our experience, because you know, you don't know how long you got and you don't want to waste it. You don't want these poor people coming up and having to make all the mistakes you made. You want to learn, teach them so they can make a new one.
Now then, Mr. Scarlett, moving along, another topic that we discussed online, the pair of us, and we've both had this, and you've had it a lot lately, is going to doctors and going, they go, it's just part of what happens to you. You know, I can't do anything. Whereas somebody fit and healthy, or previously fit and healthy, they would throw all the tests and everything at it, but they consider us, you know, you're already broken. What do you want me to do?
Let me have a look. So I mean, we've got 6:30, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Mick
so that's 29 hours. I will be talking to my specialist, who I've had to say, I've got to talk to you. He won't meet with me. I think it's because he's scared. Because the last appointment I had, I went in, and this has been 2 years of trying to get someone to see me to see about my back that's collapsing. But apparently it's something that can happen a lot to wheelchair users of a certain age if they've been in a wheelchair a long time. And they're just kind of going, well, that's what happens. You'll have to put up with it. And it's like, but I can't now be expected to say, well, from today onwards, I'm going to have to put up with agonizing pain. That means I can't leave the house. There's nothing you can do because it's a bit difficult. We're disabled. And at the same time, keep being told things like, and wait for this, folks. Well, we're a bit worried about doing the surgery because if we do it, you might not be able to walk anymore. You might lose function in your legs. And I'm like, have you read my notes? Have you read I stopped walking in 1981? 1981.
I had a bit of kick in the teeth. I chatted to a guy who's, I don't know how old he is. He's older than me, but he's now the time where his knees have gone and he's got to have replacements. Now, when they said to me, knee replacement, and they pushed it so hard, and I'm like, don't want it. And it was pushed and pushed, so much so that my family were like, this could be good for you. He's now said, I didn't have it done 15 years ago because the consultant at Southend said, don't, the tech's not quite there yet. They're not good enough. Wait, really, you're going to have problems. And yet they say to me, you can't have problems. Hello. Because, and apparently I can't feel. This is another one, doctors. You can't be in pain in that neck. I put a metal knee in there and metal doesn't produce pain. I'm like, right. And I'm rolled up in trousers. I said, you're a doctor. See all this around the knee. Would that have any nerve endings in it?
It is weird, isn't it? Because I think the thing is that they have a book. Here's a book, a musical book.
Just the one.
Music, right? And they got a book and they read it and they go, well, that's the fact. And if you don't fit the fact, they're you know, like I have a really high level of function and quite a lot, I mean, almost full sensation, despite the fact that my back is actually broken quite high up. And apparently your spinal column should be about that, and mine is about that. It's like it's tight, it's like a pencil thin. So I shouldn't have any function from the waist down, and yet I do. So it means, what do you mean you can feel? You can feel? Oh, you can feel. But and it's so one way they're going, we can't operate because if we do, you might not be able to walk anymore. And at the other side, they're going, but you can't be in pain because you can't feel anything. And it's the number of times they ask me, what do you mean you've got bladder control? You shouldn't have bladder control. And I'm like, well, you'd know if I didn't, I'd have pissed myself by now.
It's
It's
you,
ever
yeah,
so
you
easy
can't
to tell. Give me
you
a
can't
jug of
argue it.
water and sit me on a bloody pad, and then if I leak, I haven't. If I don't, I have. It's ever
I
so simple.
literally had a shouting match with the doctor, and my argument was, and I stopped because it affected my mental health. I wanted my left leg amputated because of the clonking of this knee joint produces so much pain. And he said, after we'd had this big Barney, look, I feel for you. If I could 100% guarantee that this surgery would help, I would do it right now. And I said, it will. And he said, how do you know? I said, how's a knee going to clonk if you've amputated above the knee? He said, but you'll still get phantom limb pain. Yes,
Yeah.
but it won't be produced by a mechanical, when I move, boom, ow.
Yeah.
Just give in with
It's
them.
funny. And also, I think the other thing that they don't understand is after a while, because like you've got chronic pain, I've got chronic pain. After a while, you get used to a certain level of pain.
Yeah, looking
Right?
at us,
When you
people
go
wouldn't
in-
realise we're in pain.
When you go in, yeah, like we're talking now,
Yeah.
we're not going, oh, ah. You know, like you watch these TV shows where like ambulance people and they turn up and they go, does it hurt? Oh, God. And you're like, oh, piss. So I broke my leg in half and barely squeaked, right? And I could feel it. And everyone was like, you can't feel it. It hasn't made any noise. And I'm like, no, I can feel it. I'm just not crying out because while it is quite bad, I'm nearly fainting. It's not the worst I've had. And so if we go and say it really hurts, we mean it.
But let's face it, I mean, if you and I now, we had no pain at all, we were healthy, and then all of a sudden they put on the level of pain that we're in right now, we'd both be at the hospital screaming for morphine. And I've said this, the pain
To be honest, I genuinely think that for a lot of disabled people that experience chronic pain, if suddenly it went to someone that didn't have it, that hadn't had that level of pain, that didn't know what it was like, I think they'd die. Because for us, it's not something that gets turned on like that. It just gets worse over time. But
it's always there. It's always there at level. It's just up and down. It's just volume.
It's like now, the pain I'm in at the minute, when it gets really bad, I feel my heart racing. I get tinnitus because the blood pressure goes up in my head, right? I'm faint, my pupils dilate, and it's like contract on like little pinpricks, and it's unbearable. But it's on top of what is already quite a lot of pain, and this is what I'm trying to explain to them. It's like, look, if it hurts, if you can get it to be the level of hurt I can put up with. A perfect example is when at the minute what I've got is I've got this feeling like my foot from like halfway down my calf is either being chewed up in a kind of machine or is having the skin pulled off or is on fire or is in boiling oil. So it feels a bit like it's that much painful. But if they could get it so that was as bad as it was, I'd probably be all right because I'd get used to that. It's when it gets even worse than that and I'm like, I can't think, I can't work. I've got to lay down.
You can't function. You cannot function when the pain.
And that's the thing is, and I think that it's funny because I did a course about chronic pain, about mindfulness, which is great as long as you have the ability to spend your time being mindful about it.
Yeah.
But anyway, and on the course there was lots of people with different pain levels, and we would try. The main thing we were taught was everyone's worst pain is their own worst pain, and that's absolutely true. But when we go in and say, look, this is like nothing we've had before, we're not given the same level of understanding.
They're trained to look for clues, aren't they, to pain? If someone's in pain, they will be grimacing. If someone's in pain, they will be pale. If they're doing this, they'll be, there's all these things that they're meant to look.
You'd think
I'm a healthy person.
You'd think that, Zec, but I fainted at the last two appointments I had because getting there is a cab journey. And being driven hurt so much. I actually fainted in the appointments, and they still went, "Have you tried gabapentin?" It's like, yeah, that's what we try at the end of the. You try all the surgery and the stuff, and if it fails and there's nothing more you can do, then you try gabapentin. You don't go, have you tried a really horrible painkiller that's really addictive and screws you up and makes you fat and mentally ill? But we've tried nothing. We've tried nothing, and we're out of ideas.
It's the battle of disability, and anyone that watches this will have been through the same. That there was that lovely saying, isn't there, where the doctor says, "Please don't, compare your 15 minutes of Googling to my 20 years of being a doctor, and someone says, well, please don't compare my 20 years of being in pain to your 15 minutes on the subject where you once attended a class.
I mean, and all, because it's funny, a mate of mine he's a wheelchair user, and he did a doctorate in how working with like peer support is really beneficial for disabled people, whether they're newly disabled or not. And it's true. Social media has been a huge peer support for our community. Things like this, we're all reaching out to everyone and saying, "Hey, come on, let's support each other. Let's give each other tips and support and understanding of what we go through." And when he was doing it, he found out that in all textbooks, it says the longest that you can live if you've got a spinal cord injury is 35 years after injury. So I'm on 41, which means I wheel in and they kind of go, "Well, you're doing pretty well." And it's like,
not worth fixing you. You're lucky to be alive.
Yeah. You've had a good innings. And it's like, no, mate, no, I don't want to worry you or anything. But I want at least another 20 more years. I feel a lot like Rutger Hauer in Blade Runner. I feel like Roy Batty. I want more life.
I'm going through a phase in my life where I'm feeling very mortal. I'm feeling very, before I'll get a lot of chest pains. I've been in cardiac care, and before I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I can bounce back. I was in the shower. Donna had gone out, and she normally helped. I'd got in the shower on my own, and it's freezing cold, and I got this pain through my chest that was so bad it made me scream out. Yeah. And my thought was, I'm not dying, fat, disabled, and naked in this bath for people to discover. So I tried to wash myself quick. Doing so, then discovered, no, it was all the in between my ribs had all flared up, all that costal cartilage and that was causing it. Oh, but yeah, I'm like, no, I'm going to die. Please don't find me naked.
Do you know what, mate? It's funny. I have exactly the same thing. I kind of keep trying to make sure, because showering at the minute and washing is quite difficult. So I do it. Yeah. I wait till it's that horrible thing. I have a bath whether I need it or not. No, I have to really need it. But I wait till Diane's in the house, which is annoying because I don't want to. Because I try not to scream and shout when she's nearby. But yeah, this is really bad. It really hurts. So, I also think when I'm in there, it's really bad now. I've got to get out. Because I can't be found in the bath. If she wasn't here, I wouldn't go near it, because the last thing I want to do is to have her open the door and go, "Hello, darling, I'm home." Silence. And she comes into the bathroom and there's kind of my blubbering whale body laying in the bath dead. So you're like, oh dear, that's no good.
No, mine's the emergency services. That's my fear, Oh, quick, we've called an ambulance, and I'm there going, no, look at my teddy penis.
Hold on a minute, I need a flapper. I need a quick flapper. I'm going to die. But
it's cold. We haven't got the heating on. What do you expect? And it is bloody cold. I'm sat on the settee earlier. I can't remember what we're watching. I'm like, I could see my breath. I'm like, no, you're kidding. I haven't done that since the 70s indoors.
Do you know what? It's. I'm moaning about the flat I live in, but it is one of the things I'm really lucky about. Is our flat is so heavily insulated that we've got one radiator on slightly, and it's fine. The annoying thing is we're on communal heating.
Oh,
so we're like on business rates, so we're going to get absolutely stung. And we're not using the heat, so there's no incentive for us not to use central heating, other than the fact the flat gets too hot.
Well, this week my front door, I took a video of it. I've had to put a piece of wood about that high up to support the middle bit, because where it's rotten, the middle bit between the glass, and it's moving. So I've had to screw it all together just for the fact I'm just hoping it don't fall apart.
Surely your landlord should have a look at that, shouldn't they? Because
he's seen it.
I don't know.
The postman put a letter through the gap under the door once.
I've always think it's funny you get this where people talk about private landlords and they go, well, private landlords will look after the property because, of course, it's their property. And you think, have you ever seen anyone's private landlord?
My daughter, when she moved into her property, the flat roof leaked and it flooded the place. And it still smells musty, even though the landlady, we get it all cleared. We get it cleaned. Then under the sink in the downstairs toilet, and it's all poorly done.
Yeah.
A joint went and it pissed water everywhere. They couldn't turn the stopcock off because it was jammed and the hole was that thick. So sort that. Recently, look, there's water coming in from upstairs. She goes upstairs, nothing. So she calls the landlady. who says, "Oh, it's always you lot. It's your kids hanging on the radiators. I want you out. That's it. You're done. I want you out, but I won't make you do it before Christmas. But you're out." Plumber comes under the floorboards. There's a dry joint where they've turned the heating on. It's gone.
Yep.
The solder's gone, and she still wanted him out.
Yeah.
So my daughter got a place within 1 week and said to her, "Stick it. We're going."
I
300 quid more a month.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is the problem, isn't it? What is it that in London, property prices are going up by 23% to rent, and that's just ridiculous. But I'm in a social housing place, and we have problems with all this kind of stuff. We've got a neighbour that lives upstairs but one, and he lives on the top, like on the flat roof, and that's since he's moved in, it's been leaking, and there's a crack in the concrete, and he can sit in the living room and see the sky out the top. So he's so
they charge him more for the view.
Yeah, no, he's had to stop using it. He can't live in the living room. He's now in hospital. He's had a mental breakdown because the stress of it. And it's like basically what's happened is, if you rent, you're kind of you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Because either way, it's impossible to get anything done.
Well, my daughter's like us. We had the year, moved in, an estate agent. "Oh, do you want it? There's your contract." And then after the year, no more contracts. The landlords get rid of the estate agents, and you're just paying your rent. You've got no contract. You've got nothing.
Yeah. It's a grim old time.
It's fun, isn't it?
And that's not how we wanted to leave you, because it's been 45 minutes, believe it or not, mate. There you go. Today, of course, has been a bit like just going down the pub with your mate and having a chat, innit? While people watch. That'll see. Next time when we do this, we'll have to have a beards.
Oh, no. I'm saying that. I mean, I don't drink alcohol, but I accidentally picked up a fortified wine thinking it was grape juice the other week and thrust it down. I was like, "That's not grape juice."
I will say, I have discovered that a small amount of nice alcohol when you're in pain helps. Works with the painkillers.
Rub it in, Mark.
Oh, wow.
Come on.
Mark, you're a Jason. Put in a wet room and a kitchen.
Sexual favours. Right.
I live in a social housing house, flat, and I still can't get to put a wet room in because apparently.
No, I've got a wet room. Well, all of them are quite wet actually, and Don has to wipe the mould off the walls. But
oh God, it's a bad old one. Well, yeah, we don't know what we're going to be doing next time because we're going to have to remember.
Will we still be alive? Who knows?
Yeah, we'll be fine.
I think we can survive that.
But yeah, what can we talk about to leave us on a high? It's nearly the Strictly results, isn't it? It
is. I don't know who's. It's a real one. I bet nobody else watches it. But, I'm a bit like, ooh, are you? I really disagree. Last week, Blackpool, and they gave 4 tenths to that girl doing that. Bit of what they called, Beyonce, not Beyonce, a bit of, I don't know, the dancers. Yeah, I thought it was bloody awful.
We never know. Next series, it might be Matt Hancock if he wins I'm a Celebrity. That'd be good for you, wouldn't it?
It'd be like old Anne, what's its name? Anne Whittaker.
Yeah, exactly.
Being slung around the floor.
Yeah, like a sack of potatoes. Lovely. I think they need a wheelchair user on it. Wheelchair ballroom.
I think it will happen.
Yeah, probably be Addy though, wouldn't it?
Oh, Addy or Sophie.
Yeah, it won't be me. Anyway, I'm too knackered now. Do you know what? One of the great things about being ill is it does mean it reassess your life. And I'm thinking, well, I used to be famous. I'm not anymore. I don't really care. To be honest, I'm going to go. When I'm back well, watch out, folks. You're going to see me in some states because
I don't look back over my life.
Sunday evening, I'm going to be out all weekend partying like I used to do in the 90s.
I don't look back over my life because laying there crying and feeling sorry for yourself is a really bad look because I've really messed up my life. I'm kind of like, oh, I want like those films where you see and they wake up and they're back in time. I want to do that. I want to go back, knowing what I know, and go right, do it properly this time.
Do you know what? It's one of the things I can honestly say about my life. If I went back in time, I don't know what I'd change. I'd probably.
Oh, you're like Mark. You're rubbing it in, aren't you?
I've done a few girls probably a bit sooner. I'd be a bit more blatant about my chasing of Diane, and don't know really. Yeah, probably. Yeah, not much. A couple of things, but nothing.
Although saying that, if you go back and do it different, you may not take the route you were on, and it's that whole thing of,
I'm a bit vain. I like myself, and I am the sum of all of my parts, and I think that's what everyone needs to remember. Look in the mirror. If you like it, you see. Then all the bad stuff made you who you are. It might have been bad.
I like who I see in the mirror now, but it took growing a beard, because without it was pretty grim.
I've seen pictures. You look quite cute when you were younger. Great big strapping young man with his collection of crazy cars.
I got asked to do a strip at a hen night. Some of the girls came into the fire station, like the MOD, and they were like, "Oh, hi, would you like, we're having a hen night?" And I'm like, "Right." And would you come and strip for us? And I'm like, "Oh." And they're like, "But why? You've got big muscles, and you can wear your phone." And I think, "Yeah, I got big muscles." I don't.
Do you know what, mate? I have exactly the same experience. I was working in a gay club in Luton, where I come from, and one of the strippers didn't turn up. And the manager came and said, "Would you do a strip?" It was Christmas, and the bloke was meant to be dressed as Father Christmas. And he went, "You've got your own sleigh. It'll be hilarious." The only problem is I don't have the same equipment. Because if you think male strippers in straight clubs are endowed, holy moly mother, I've seen some things that people shouldn't see them. Like my hands fall off the screen. It was scary. And I was like, no, I won't, because they'll be let down.
Yeah. They'll be like, "Woo, Simon! Woo, woo, woo!" Oh.
Whole club, exactly.
I thought that was a woman, Did you think it was a woman?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's a wheelchair thing. I don't know, but I didn't want to, ruin it for everybody else. So I continued the myth.
Back in the days when I'd go out for a 10-mile run and think nothing of it. God.
Yeah. See, that's why losing your ability to walk at 15 was quite good, because 10-mile one, I used to get out of the cross-country runs as well, because my caliper would rust.
I had it, no kidding, back in 1970, 1980, about 1982, we had really heavy snow, and they used to make us do cross-country. It wasn't, you used to have to run around the field. So I'm like, I'm going to forget to take my trainers. They can't make me do it. It was that thick with snow, and he went, "Barefoot, go." And I was out there for an hour and a half running around the field barefoot in deep snow.
Yeah.
Oh, when I was a lad.
I forgot my kit. I forgot my swimming gear, sir. There you go, as a plastic bag.
Oh, no. If you forgot your kit, they'd make you go through the girls' lost property, and you'd wear a PE skirt and knickers at my school. And that would teach you a lesson.
Either that, or it made.
Although some of them, I think it turned them the other way.
Yeah, a lot of people became cross-dressers from that school.
There was a couple in my school that would have been like that, and they know who they are.
Yeah, same here, mate. Same here.
Right.
Anyway, I suppose we ought to end, because that's there you go. It was 8 minutes over time. No, 13 minutes over time. Yeah, we don't know what we're doing next time. We'll see. I've got a few people I might ask, but we'll find out. But there you go. We said we were off script. That was off script. And
now Disability Horizons are doing a bit about, or they're talking about doing a bit about disability and religion. But I don't know who we could get on to discuss. You would need different faiths. Would it work? Would it work in a video format?
Well, we're quite lucky, because we've got our own Jew. We've got our own Jew. We've got our own Jew. It's like now many disabled, grumpy gits can't claim that, can they? Look at that. See, we got our own. Woo! So that's good. But it'll be interesting, because I'm a complete atheist, so we need someone else on your, on the believer side.
Well, we could do with a baby Jeebus person, the on top baby
person, a Mohammed person, maybe.
Yeah.
Or someone, Hindu.
Hindu. Is that how they pronounce it? Hindu.
A Buddhist would be good. I worked with a Buddhist once. She was great. She believed that disabled people had gone to nirvana and come down to improve other people's karma. So basically, we were sent down. We chose to come down as disabled people to make brothers. And I thought that's the kind of people we like. I like that.
If I thought we would be reincarnated, I'd kill myself now. No, none of that.
You don't know. You might come back as something else. Great. Oh, yeah, but that's why. This is the problem, you see. This is the thing. If you do believe it, you think, "Oh, actually, that's a good idea." You'd go, "Well, I'll top out now then." And that's why they've all pretty much made suicide a bad thing, didn't they?
Right, we're going to go now, people, because
we're going to go. But if you are a devoutly religious disabled person that would like to come on and talk about faith and disability, that would be great.
About the barriers in the service.
We always say this, folks. If you have a subject to talk about, contact us through the Facebook, through the Twitter, through all the other things, and tell us, and we'll have you on. Because otherwise, you end up with this nearly 55 minutes of
pagan Catholic.
Pagan Catholic.
Yeah, sorry, Avril. I need to talk to you, Avril, because I really want to know how that works. I really do. Is that kind of, you forget the body and blood of Christ and you have a goat or something? I don't know.
Yeah, well, there you go.
I'd like to know. I'm going to talk to Avril about that.
Talk about Avril off camera, and then we'll come back soon. Join us next time. Nearly Christmas, folks, and
nearly Hanukkah.
And exactly, that's it. See, it's a festive season.
Yeah, it is.
So that's it. Might be a good one. Let's have a festive season about religion. Yeah, let's do it.
Ooh. See you next time.
Cool.
Bye,
see you,
everyone.
Bye. And that's it. It tailed off towards the end.